Welcome back to I Reckon. Today we have a short NDE by a man named David Franciosa. This guy was transformed, he said, by his near-death experience. And before this happened, he said, I had a premonition before the event, a sense of dread. I knew that this was not something to be ignored, as I had similar kind of premonition many years before, one that left me with a gnawing undercurrent of deep discomfort. That time it had proven true as my father passed away soon after. I had only been a teenager. This time, 14 years later, the premonition showed me a tragic accident, and I knew the vision was showing me my own death. Looking back to that day, over a decade ago, I was at the height of my music career and life was good. My debut album, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, had 3 hit singles and had reached the area albums chart top 60. I was feeling on top of my game, but there was a sense that there was something missing. That day, the car came out of nowhere and ran right over the top of me. I lay broken and bleeding on the concrete and knew I was dying. All at once, I wasn't in my body anymore. I wasn't above it looking down on myself. It was more as if I had suddenly become part of everything. I felt expansive, as if I could breathe in and out. All I could see as far as my being could reach. There didn't seem to be a point where I ended and the rest of the world began. As bizarre as this experience was playing out in front of me, I was completely calm and not at all afraid of my death. But then something started to concern me on the edges of that peace. A nagging feeling that leaving like this was not going to be a great way for me to exit my life, especially from my family, who had already been through enough with my losing my dad. So I called out using words without words, more like loud thoughts, and I asked the question, is this it for me? Am I dying? I heard in return just 4 words, not sure yet, David. The more I considered my position, the more sure I felt about not leaving my family and friends this suddenly. Here I was, a 28-year-old guy, and I knew that going out this way would cause too much carnage to people I cared about. It didn't seem right. I asked the great warmth I felt everywhere around me another question. Would it be okay if you took me another day, in another way? Just not like this. This isn't good for anyone. There was no response, but all of a sudden I found myself back in my body, looking up at terrified faces crowded over me. I croaked out to them, I'm fine, I'm just gonna be fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I felt strangely elated and sure that I was going to be perfectly okay. An ambulance came on the scene, rushed me to the hospital. I was scanned to the head from head to toes with x-rays and an MRI. They could not believe that all I had was fractured cheekbone, even though the car had pummeled my whole body. I knew that whatever had been wrong with me during my time in conversation outside my body had now been healed. I had been given another shot at life. I was recovering in hospital, and I asked if I wanted to talk to a counselor about what had happened to me. I said I didn't need one. I wasn't carrying a weight of trauma or fear about what happened. I had no rage toward the person in the car. All I carried was a sense of awe and gratitude that I still was here and healthy. I went back to singing and composing, although I was different. Everything felt slightly brighter somehow. And there were moments where I would stop and smile, and I couldn't get as activated or upset about things without almost returning to the observer's point of view and saying to myself, really, David? Is that important? If it was, I couldn't act in a selfish or angry way without a sense of humor giving me a nudge in the ribs to let it go. As with many NDEs, David went on with a life-changing experience, was no longer the same person. He did really good on his music and YouTube, and he went on also to create a cooking channel on YouTube, which I'm sure you could find if you were interested, at David Franciosa. And so you can look up, he's written big articles about it, more information if you're curious. Otherwise, you guys have a great day. We're gonna cut this one short today, but be nice in the comments, and I reckon we'll return.